That'll never get old. So yes, this meeting is now being recorded. Welcome to our recruiting call in the series. This is the second video. We will be doing our mindset phase in this call. And before we even get into it, just understand that mindset is a lifelong process. And it's my intention for this call to kind of dump some tools out there. It might seem overwhelming, it might seem like a lot, but just know that you can always press pause. You can always come back to this video. And you can always do this video multiple times. So it's going to be its intention, and the person who's on this call live right now is doing this with me one-on-one. So your experience will be a little bit different. But if you're watching this on the recorded version, you get out a piece of paper and pen and follow along, taking notes as you move through this. So the intention for this call is to have a conversation about mindset and how important it is, some of the science behind it, give you some tools to take right away to improve your mindset, and then to shift towards talking about the recruiting process and how you can use mindset effectively as you move through it, and to get recruited to a better school, maybe, likely. So yeah, we're gonna do a school visioning journey after we talk about some mindset stuff, and then I will give you a couple key questions that you will journal on between now and when you watch the next video, the planning video. That's what we're gonna do. Okay, so in terms of mindset, first, I want to establish within you a personal development habit, which means that yes, you're going to read, or you're going to watch a YouTube video, or you're going to listen to an audiobook. You must find a way to digest information effectively, consistently, if you're going to grow and evolve as being a human. And that's kind of broad scope, and it affects your recruiting journey a whole lot. If you're able to digest information from free resources online and invest in books, you will absolutely improve who you are as a person and who you are as a student athlete. So your book assignment is one that my college coach assigned me, or one of my college coaches, and it is Mind Gym. I showed this in the first video, and I'll link to it in the comment, but this book is called Mind Gym, An Athlete's Guide to Inner Excellence. It's by Gary Mack with David Castevens. Alex Rodriguez, the baseball player, he does the foreword. So this book is really bringing in Olympic level athletes from across different sports. So it's not lacrosse specific, but it's athlete specific. And maintaining an athletic mindset throughout your life is really positive for you. So Mind Gym, just a brief bit about it, is going to teach you about the statistics of sports performance in terms of integrating mindset coaching and working on your mindset. So mindset, your Mind Gym, can include you sitting quietly and visualizing yourself scoring goals. It's like hitting the wall, except you're doing it in your mind. Or you're scoring goals, or you're seeing a positive outcome, but you're doing it in your mind. And you're practicing this just as if you were on the lacrosse field and with as much focus as you physically on the field. Because, and this is what he opens with, and I love it. So he had a room of professional athletes, and he asked them to sit down if they thought mindset was 10% of that he asked them to think of their best moment ever in the sport. And he asked them to sit down if they thought it was 10% mindset relating to sports performance, if it was, and nobody sat down, if it was 20%, and he got all the way up to 50%, and over half of the room of professional athletes were still standing, saying that their athletic performance was over 50% of their success. So that's not a small number. And then he goes on to question the reader, you in the future. He goes on to question the reader and say, how much time are you spending on mindset? How much time are you spending on mindset when, in terms of like your goals of being high level athlete, how much time are you dedicating to your mentality? And that's something for you to answer, because you can amp it up and really improve your game. So when it comes to mindset and mental game, what you're really working with is the physicality of your body and its reactions to emotions. So really you're working with emotional intelligence at like a sports level, utilizing emotional intelligence for your specific sport. So whenever your body receives a stimuli, so you see something scary on TV. Okay, you see something scary, you're interpreting that information, and it's going through your amygdala first. Your amygdala is the home of your emotions. So any sensory input is going to go through your emotional filtration system before it hits your logical brain. Okay, or your rational brain. So in the emotional intelligence world, they call anxiety or being really scared, or where you're almost paralyzed, an emotional hijacking or amygdala hijack. So when you understand that your physical body is going to have a reaction to your doubts about yourself. Okay, so if your constant train of thought is, I suck at lacrosse, I'm never going to go to college to play, is so much better than me. You're running a racket is what my business partner calls it. But you're running a racket where you're just talking crap about yourself. You're not treating yourself well, and it's not really being productive because you have a physical response to those doubts. So I'll give you an example. The guy or woman who shoots 100 free throws a day from the basketball free throw line, just all day practicing. It comes to the final buzzer, and their shot is going to determine whether they win or lose the game. What immediately happens is that all that muscular practice, like your body knows how to sink a free throw at that point. But if you're nervous or you have an emotional response, so you go into fight or flight, and your physical body has a reaction when you get an amygdala hijacking. So you have that physical reaction, and then you tense up and you miss the free throw. So what we want to practice, and this is where I'm going with this, what we want to practice to overcome that amygdala hijacking, we want to practice anytime we have that come up, or nerves, right? We want to practice down regulating our system and changing our thought so that our physicality reflects it and mirrors it. And so we play better. I can tell you a kid who's not going to be good at lacrosse right from the get. I can tell you a kid that's not going to get recruited right from the get. They have their shoulders humped over. They're kind of looking out the corners of their eye, all sketchy like. that kid is not progressing at the level that that kid deserves. So I can tell the thoughts that are running through their mind because of their body language, because our body reflects what we think. Now, I can also tell you a kid who's like definitely going to go places, going to, like, they can get better at lacrosse as fast as they want. They're walking with their shoulders back. They're taking in information. They're listening to their coach and immediately implementing, not like, coach says something, they drop, they slump, they say, oh, I suck. And then they're trying to integrate the coaching. Do you know what I mean? There's a difference. So not only is it important just for you to feel better and be happier on the lacrosse field, it has actual, like, tangible and direct relationship. It has a direct relationship to how quickly you can get better at lacrosse or anything in life, and how well your recruiting process is going to go. So I always start with mindset and go deep into it. So this is a lifelong learning skill, and something you'll want to practice forever, because we're gonna have doubtful thoughts. Like, I cannot tell you that, like, I never get nervous about, I never have imposter syndrome, like, these things come up. We are human. So manifesting and working with the tools to strengthen the skill set, that's what we're doing. Reading books like this are going to get you on that path. And so change your thoughts, change your reality. So one of the laws that this book highlights is going to talk about the law of dominant thought. Okay, so this is really important. The law of dominant thought. So as coaches, you've probably had a coach who's like, don't do this, don't do that, don't do that, or like a parent who says, don't touch this, don't do that, blah, 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 blah. So anytime someone says, don't think about the pink elephant, you immediately have the picture of a pink elephant. The law of dominant thought says your mind is going to remember the most dominant thought. So this is really important because, for instance, a low attacker, instead of saying to a low attacker, don't hit the goalie, because now you're thinking about the goalie, I always say, shoot at net, like rip it at net. Like, you want to focus on what you want, okay? Not run a racket on what's going wrong or where you feel like you are inadequate. So this is a practice and is one of your homework assignments. So dominant thought, I want you to integrate that into your life and journal every time you're able to bring yourself back to a positive dominant thought. So for instance, an example, I am a defender. I played defense in college, right? Played low attack, played as well, took draws, but I loved low defense. So as a low defender, you get beat, right? You get beat on 1v1s, you get beat on man downs. Whenever I get beat on a 1v1, a thought could come to my head of, I suck. I'm terrible. I'm terrible at defense. Oh my God, everybody's going to be mad at me. And I could just like spiral down along that path. And we have the opportunity to see everything as an opportunity. So it's the difference between like someone dropping their shoulders when they sucked for a second. Like, we're going to suck every once in a while. Instead of dropping your shoulders and being like, oh, I dropped the ball, it's almost like a playful, like, but you aren't going to get me next time. Or like, what did I do wrong? Somebody talk to me about it. How can I do that better? How is this an opportunity to maybe form a better relationship with my teammate who can help me because they never get beat 1v1. And that serves to integrate you into your team more effectively. could be, biggest one that I'm going to throw out there. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. You're not sorry. There are times to be sorry. Yes, there are times to apologize. However, just as your regular everyday moment, no, I don't want you to just consistently run around saying you're sorry. You're not sorry. You're a fabulous human who, especially at y'all's age, there's so much potential for you. You're so cool. There's so much potential for you to turn into a really cool person. So to run around talking about how sorry you are, A, is just a lie, and B, that'll ingrain in you. So, for instance, I'm known for maybe being like 10 minutes late, okay, or 5 minutes late. Old Taylor used to be like, oh my God, like I'm like late. This is gonna suck. Like I'm a terrible human. Instead of being late and saying I'm sorry that I'm late, you can say thank you for your patience. Like thank you for your patience. 5 minutes is not gonna, we're okay. Same thing goes in lacrosse. So let's say your teammate, so you're a defender, your teammate runs into you and there's my puppy. Okay, your teammate runs into you on defense and you give her a good bruise, and she's like, instead of saying I'm sorry, because in a game, like, we're going to give the other team bruises. That's going to happen if we're doing our job right, because attackers are going to try you. They're going to try and 1v1 you, and they need to feel you hold your ground. And so you're practicing that with your teammate. Instead of I'm sorry, like, and then whatever, moving on to try and get better at lacrosse, you could say, do you think that was legal? Do you think that was legal? Like, I hope that doesn't hurt too much tomorrow, like that, because that's truth. Like I hope that that's just a sting, and I hope that I did that legally, right? Those are all truthful statements. So, anyways, law of dominant thought, that is something to practice. All right, so that's one of your homeworks. So in terms of mind gym and preparing yourself for things that make you nervous, okay? So lacrosse games, when you're being watched by a college coach, when you're being watched by me, when you're being, when you're being watched by grandma, there's opportunity for you to be nervous, right? And to like have that amygdala hijacking, that emotional like, and then you play terrible and then you spiral down the rabbit hole. So to combat that and to prepare yourself better, I want you to go to YouTube. YouTube's a great place. And find a video or two like of motivational speeches, a couple minutes, something very easily digestible, but something that gets you hype, gets you like, yeah, like if it brings tears to your eyes, even better. And I want you to use this as your pregame pump up. So before a test, before a job interview, before a lacrosse game, before a tryout, anytime that you would be like you feel your breath is up in your chest and you're like nervous and you like, need a hot bath or something to calm down, I want you to have a pregame pump up video that you turn to and that you listen to beforehand. And then journal on how that felt. Did that help? Did it not help? And continue to do that. Do that at least 4 times repeatedly, and then look at your journaling. Oh, no. Okay. Puppy things. And then look at your journaling and evaluate whether that's a good habit to implement into your life. Because anytime you can create habits to strengthen you as a person, it's like little rituals. They are very, very valuable. They compound, and then you wake up one day, and that's just how you think. So you practice the dominant thought law enough, you'll wake up one day. It might be 5 years, it might be 10, it might be a year, and that's just how you'll think. An integrated athlete in that way. Okay. So all of this really comes to being more intentional, being more and more intentional all the time with what you're doing, right? What you're doing in life. We're going to get to the planning phase in the next video, but the more you can be intentional in your recruiting process, the more likely it is that you will be happy at that school, that you won't strap your family financially because you didn't have an important conversation. You won't strap yourself financially. Like there's a lot of factors that, as intentional as you can be about this, you also won't wake up, senior year and be like, oh my God, I didn't do any of the work before, Ideally, you can do this all very quickly and download it as quickly as you need. And starting earlier gives you more time. And with that intentionality throughout this entire process, you want to do what my dear friend Danielle Laura calls like being hot, or being hot with yourself, which means honest, open, and transparent. And that's really going to be important in terms of the relationships that you're building around you, because those relationships are going to help you go to wherever you want to go. The relationships with your parents, guardians, whoever is kind of being there in the back end supporting you, especially getting you to travel, tournaments and things like that. Like there's a lot that goes behind that. And being honest with your coaches and recruiting them in your recruiting process. Working with them and knowing that they're only human as well. So being patient with them. Being honest, open, and transparent with your college coach potentials, right? Like how you treat all of these relationships becomes really important. And if your mindset is always like, like spazzy and like, I don't know, and so you ghost people and it's not a good look. It doesn't feel good. And there's a better way to go about things. Up to you though. Okay. Now we are going to go through the school visioning journey. I'm going to rapid fire questions. I want you to pause the video after I ask the question. I'll give it like maybe a 10-second pause, but I want you to pause the video after I ask the question for as long as you need to answer. Some of the questions you might not know, you might have no idea, and you could just watch this through to hear the questions, so it starts jogging your memory, or it starts making you think about this in a different way. Okay, let me pull this up. My dog is making noise, so just thanks for your patience. Okay. First question is, do you want a big school or do you want a small school? And what does big school mean to you? Does it mean 10,000 or does it mean 30,000? And what does small school mean? Are you good with like 1,200, like basically a high school amount of people and you know everybody on campus? Or do you want to be more anonymous and not know everyone? Does this school have a graduate school? Is there a medical school? Is there a law school? Is there master's programs? Okay. And then the age-old question, what division or level of lacrosse do you envision? So this question is going to be a couple parts because there's like, where do I think I can play? And then like, where are you shooting to play? Now, just a brief conversation about D1, 2, 3, and NAIA or club. There's a wonderful lacrosse experience at every level of those things. So your recruiting journey is almost like a motherboard, like a soundboard, where you're adjusting the dials, and some things might be really important. Some things might be like, meh, like whatever. If it's there, it's not, it's fine. There are D1 teams that would get whooped up by D3 teams. There are club teams that would beat D2 teams. There's a lot of different experiences out there. So if you are getting stuck on like, I want to play D1 or bust, definitely continue through this and we will make sure that that's a fit. Okay. Do you want to be a part of a sorority or an eating house is what it was at Davidson? Do you want to be a serious part, a leader of a volunteer organization? Is that really important to you? Do you want a football school? If you love basketball or like whatever, do you want to go somewhere that has a big football program? In your box. Okay, in your box. Go. Go. Okay. All right. Lacrosse wise, how many hours a day do you want to commit to lacrosse? Like realistically, what are you saying? Are you seeing yourself commit like an hour and a half, 2 hours? Are you seeing 5 hours? Like, how much time are you ready to commit to lacrosse? All right. Do you want to go somewhere that you can definitely play freshman year or a sophomore year? Sometimes junior year. Sometimes you never play. So, what is your stance there? Do you want to compete for a conference championship? Do you want to compete for a national championship? What is the dynamic of your team? Are they like super close knit? Everybody lives together, everybody does everything together? Or are they comprised of like different groups of people that all really just come together on the lacrosse team? Do they hang out a lot? What are they like? Do they dress up to go to class? Are they all in sweatpants all the time? Like, what's their vibe? Um, in terms of academics, how smart is your lacrosse team? How smart is your school? How important is an academic focus? Like, is it everyone survives their academics on the team, or is it like we've got future doctors and, people who are really, going to be in high levels of academia because they're brilliant? what does that look like for you? Right? What level of prestige does the school have? Do you want to go to a school that like everybody knows its name? Whenever you say you went there, like pretty much everyone's gonna know what it is. Or do you want to go somewhere that's maybe like if you're in the know, you know the school's name, but it's not like there aren't TJ Maxx shirts being made of that school consistently. It's not one of the like boxy box ones. What position do you want to play? Like truly, what position do you want to play? Now be flexible on this. And lots of especially D like top D1 players, they'll come in as maybe a defender, so they like midfielders will start on defense so they can learn the defense. Um, so, those are important questions to ask the coach, which we'll turn to next. Um, what type of coach are you looking for? Like, what type of accountability do you enjoy? Um, Coaching philosophies? Do you have any that you're like, I don't want that kind, and I do want this kind? Do you want a coach who has a history at that school and will likely be there for all 4 of your years? There are programs who have a high head coach turnover rate. Um, so that's something to be mindful of as you are choosing a program. Um, that there might be a point where you've got to just kind of vibe with a new coach, and that's what you got to do. Do you like a male or female coach? Um, how many assistants do you want to be working with? Do they have a sports like a what type of physical training program do they have? What type of sports medicine do they work with for you? Great. And um, there's a lot of questions you can ask about college. These are some to get you going. So the final questions are around finances. Okay, so talking to your people um, about the realities. What are you working with, right? Um, how much is there maybe saved up for your school? Are you going to be taking out loans? What level of scholarship are you requiring? Like you have to have that, or it's a no. Um, Make sure that in that the number that you create, there is how are you going to feed yourself, room and board, books, like that there's some living stipend, living finances taken into consideration. Um, are you going to have a job in college? Because that might impact your choice, right? Like what's available for you in that way. Are you going to apply? What scholarship opportunities are you going to apply for? Um, yeah. So all of those questions, and then talking about your major. Now, it's not required that you know what major you want right now. In fact, a lot of people go into college undecided. Um, Going to college undecided does not equip you necessarily with as much information when you're choosing on the recruiting journey. So, for instance, if you wake up in college and you're like, "Oh, I want to be a dentist," or I don't know, I want to be this obscure thing, and your school doesn't have it, then you're looking at transfer. I transferred colleges. I made it out very happily. Transferring is not terrifying. And it's not the same experience as being with a lacrosse program for 4 years. I've got multiple programs that I support, so I'm not really like a graduate of one program. So that's something to consider. Ideally, you don't transfer, right? So consider your major. What are you interested in? This is something that you can have lots of conversations with lots of people, asking them about their jobs. Really look at like, what do you want to do? What do you want to make money at? How do you want to support yourself? What career do you want? I just had something that was not written on here that I wanted to say. It may come back to me. Okay. So now you have a vision. Okay, so you have a vision for what you might want. It's now going to be your job to return to the vision, make sure it continues to be true for you. It's also going to be your vision to really have a conversation with yourself, and this is another homework assignment. How hard are you willing to work to get what you just wrote down? Truly. Like, I don't put anything past anybody. This sport, you can get better so quickly. I've literally coached a kid who came to me freshman summer, so rising sophomore, I want to say. Said she wanted to go, where did she want to go? She wanted to go to Vanderbilt, which is like top. And I'm like, okay, based on where she was right then, she's super athletic, but had a lot of things going on that it was inconsistent. But she had years, right, that she could work. I told her what she had to do. She also came with what she had to do, and she did it. And no, she didn't go to Vanderbilt, but she went to Navy, which is top tier D1 as well. And she's very happy there. She did the work, found the resources, and committed herself to it. And now she did it, right? Like, this is possible. So this is a journal prompt. How hard are you willing to work to get it? And then your final journal prompt, and I'm keeping this under 45 minutes, which is my intention. Your final journal prompt is, what tools are you going to need to get there? What tools are you going to need to get to that vision? And I want you in 3 categories. Mentally, what tools are you going to need? Is it a mindset coach? Is it more books? Is it more audiobooks? Is it an accountability buddy? Is it a regimented film watching time so you can study the game, build your lacrosse IQ? Like, mentally, what are you going to need to make your vision happen? You've got to get better at lacrosse always, and there's a lot of other factors. What tools will you need physically? Okay, so footwork, you're going to need lacrosse skills, you're going to need proper hydration, you're going to need proper nutrition, you're going to need what else? Lacrosse skills. So maybe you need a wall ball situation. You need buddies to go play with and shoot with outside. Maybe it's a guardian who can go with you, and that's a nice bonding moment. But like, physically, what are you going to need? Do you need to save up and get a lacrosse net? If you're going to really get better at this and have a go at your vision, what do you need? Write it all down. And then emotionally. So the recruiting process, what tools are you going to need mentally, physically, the emotional support that that teammates can provide, that mentors can provide, that a therapist, or like a mindset coach. Like I said, like what emotionally are you going to need to perform at your highest? And really sit with that one for a while, because you're not going to perform at your highest if you feel terrible or if you're sad. Um, maybe it's tumultuous at home, maybe there's arguments at home. Like, how are you going to come out strong emotionally regardless of the circumstances happening around you? Right? We want to be strong and capable regardless of all the things that will inevitably happen in our lives. What are you going to need? All right. So I kept it under 45 minutes and we talked about a lot of things. Again, the breakdown is going to be in the comments. Mind gym, we talked about emotional intelligence and the science of it. Like, this is real. This is important to your lacrosse game and to your life as a human. So pay attention and do these things. We talked about dominant thought law and the practice that you're going to do. We talked about a pregame pump up video that you're going to practice with whenever it's like an emotionally charged situation. We talked about being intentional with this recruiting process, getting hot with ourselves, honest, open, and transparent, getting hot with your teammates, hot with your parents. And then we went down the school visioning journey. Return to that list. Continue to return to that list and add to it. If there's other things that you could add there, or if your opinion shifts, go for it. It's a living document. And then your journal prompts. How hard are you willing to work to get it? Your vision. And then what tools are you going to need physically, mentally, and emotionally? And I'll see you next call. Thanks for being here live and on the YouTubes.